A quick history of the United States. From colonies to superpower. The United States is one of the youngest major countries in the world. It officially began in 1776, which, in historical terms, is fairly recent. Yet in just a few centuries it grew from a group of scattered colonies into one of the most influential countries on the planet. Along the way there were revolutions, civil wars, massive waves of immigration, economic booms, and global conflicts. So how did it all happen? Today we're going to walk through a quick overview of the history of the United States. Not every detail. That would require several textbooks. But enough to understand how the country developed from early colonies into the nation we see today. Chapter 1. Before the United States. Long before the United States existed, the land was home to millions of Native Americans. Hundreds of different tribes and cultures lived across the continent. They had their own governments, traditions, languages, and trade networks. European exploration began in the late 1400s and early 1500s. Spain, France, and England all explored and claimed parts of North America. Eventually England established a series of colonies along the Atlantic coast. These colonies were settled for many different reasons. Some people came for economic opportunity. Some came for religious freedom. Some came because the British government encouraged settlement. By the early 1700s, 13 British colonies had formed along the eastern coast of North America. And while they were still controlled by Britain, they were developing their own identities. Chapter 2. The American Revolution. Tensions between the colonies and Britain increased during the mid-1700s. Britain began imposing taxes on the colonies to help pay debts from earlier wars. Colonists objected because they had no representation in the British Parliament. This conflict became known as taxation without representation. Protests grew. Boycotts followed. Eventually tensions escalated into open conflict. In 1776 the colonies declared independence from Britain through the Declaration of Independence. This marked the official birth of the United States. The Revolutionary War lasted several years and involved support from countries like France. In 1783 Britain formally recognized the independence of the United States. A new nation had been created. Chapter 3. Building a new government. Winning independence was only the first challenge. The new country now needed a functioning government. Early attempts under the Articles of Confederation created a weak central government. States held most of the power. This caused problems with trade, taxation, and national coordination. In 1787 leaders met in Philadelphia to draft a new constitution. The constitution created the structure of government still used today. 3 branches: legislative, executive, judicial. It also included checks and balances designed to prevent any branch from becoming too powerful. The Bill of Rights was later added to protect individual freedoms such as speech, religion, and assembly. Chapter 4. Expansion across the continent. During the 1800s the United States expanded rapidly westward. One major moment came in 1803 with the Louisiana Purchase. The US purchased a massive amount of land from France, doubling the size of the country almost overnight. As settlers moved west, new states were added to the Union. However, expansion also created serious conflict. Native American tribes were displaced from their lands. Tensions grew between regions over economic differences and slavery. These disagreements eventually led to the country's most devastating internal conflict. Chapter 5. The Civil War. By the mid-1800s the United States was deeply divided over slavery. Northern states had largely abolished slavery, while southern states relied heavily on it for agricultural labor. In 1861, several southern states seceded from the Union and formed the Confederate States of America. This triggered the American Civil War. The war lasted 4 years and caused enormous loss of life. The Union, representing the northern states, ultimately defeated the Confederacy in 1865. Slavery was abolished through the 13th Amendment. The country began the difficult process of rebuilding and redefining itself after the war. Chapter 6: Industrial Growth and Immigration. After the Civil War, the United States experienced rapid industrialization. Railroads expanded across the country. Factories grew in cities. New technologies transformed transportation, manufacturing, and communication. During this time, millions of immigrants arrived from Europe and other parts of the world seeking opportunity. Cities grew quickly as industry expanded. Economic growth accelerated, although working conditions were often harsh. Labor movements formed to advocate for safer workplaces and better wages. By the early 1900s, the United States had become a major industrial power. Chapter 7: The World Wars. The United States initially tried to remain neutral during World War I, however it eventually entered the war in 1917. American involvement helped shift the balance toward Allied victory. The country experienced another major transformation during World War II. After the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, the United States entered the war against the Axis powers. American industrial production expanded rapidly to support the war effort. When the war ended in 1945, the United States emerged as one of the world's leading global powers. Chapter 8: The Cold War and Modern Era. Following World War II, global politics were shaped by the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. This period involved political rivalry, military buildup, and technological competition, including the space race. At home, the country experienced major social changes. The civil rights movement challenged racial segregation and discrimination. New laws expanded voting rights and civil liberties. Later decades saw advances in technology, globalization, and economic change. The internet, computers, and digital industries transformed everyday life and the global economy. Today, the United States continues evolving as a diverse country shaped by many cultures, ideas, and debates. In summary, the United States began as 13 British colonies along the Atlantic coast. After tensions with Britain, the colonies fought the Revolutionary War and declared independence in 1776. A new government was formed under the Constitution. The country expanded westward during the 1800s but faced deep divisions over slavery. The Civil War ended slavery and preserved the Union. Industrialization and immigration fueled rapid growth in the late 1800s and early 1900s. The United States played major roles in both world wars and later became a global superpower during the Cold War. Today it remains one of the most influential nations in the world. History is never just a timeline of events. It's a story of people, decisions, conflicts, and ideas shaping a country over time. The United States is still writing that story today. Understanding where it came from helps make sense of where it might go next. This has been a mini Leviathan production. If you enjoyed it, check out our other videos. See you in the next one.